The hallway roared with noise lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking, voices overlapping like a constant storm, but Zoe Carter walked through it like she was untouched by any of it. Her expression stayed calm, almost cold, eyes fixed ahead as if she had somewhere more important to be than high school. Someone called her name from behind, asking about the football game that night, but she didn't even turn around. "I'd rather eat expired cafeteria sushi," she replied, without missing a step. A few people laughed, but Zoe didn't care. She never did. That was her thing. No attachments, no distractions, no nonsense. Her phone buzzed in her hand, and for a second, everything else faded. It was her dad. "Good luck today, kid. Don't forget your shift. Proud of you." The message hit softer than she expected. Zoe stared at it for a moment before typing back quickly, "Got it. I'll be fine." She always said that "I'll be fine" Evan when things felt anything but. Sliding her phone into her hoodie pocket, she kept walking, her guard back up like nothing had touched her at all. By lunchtime, the school felt louder, more suffocating. The cafeteria buzzed with energy she didn't want any part of. Zoe sat alone at her usual table near the window, opening a container of creamy penne she'd made herself late the night before. Cooking was the only thing that made sense in her life. Ingredients didn't lie. Recipes didn't leave. Food didn't break your trust. She had just taken a bite when someone dropped a tray onto the seat across from her, interrupting her piece like it didn't matter. "Okay, whatever that is, it smells way too good to be legal," the guy said casually. Zoe looked up slowly, already annoyed. "You're in my spot." He leaned back, completely unfazed. "Pretty sure this isn't assigned seating. Pretty sure I didn't invite you." He grinned like that didn't bother him at all. "Yeah, but you look like the only real person in here. Everyone else is trying way too hard." That caught her off guard for half a second, but she hit it quickly. "You have low standards, or really good instincts," he replied smoothly. Zoe studied him for a moment. Messy dark hair, relaxed posture, confidence without effort. Normally, she would have shut this down immediately, but something about him didn't feel fake. Still, she wasn't about to make this easy. "I'm eating," she said. "So if you're staying, be quiet." "Hunter," he said. Like that explained everything. What? She sighed. "Zoe, nice to meet you, Zoe. Who hates people?" "I don't hate people," she said flatly. "I just don't need them." "Same," he said, popping a fry into his mouth. "Most people are exhausting." There was a small pause, and strangely it wasn't awkward. It just existed. He nodded toward her food again. "Penne, right? Yeah, homemade, obviously." He let out a quiet, impressed breath. "That explains why it smells like something from an actual restaurant." Zoe tried not to react, but a tiny smile slipped through before she could stop it. She quickly looked away, pretending it didn't happen. Hunter noticed anyway. "There it is," he said. "You do have a personality. Don't get used to it." "Too late," he replied, smiling. For some reason, she didn't immediately tell him to leave. That alone felt like a mistake. "So, game tonight?" he asked again. "No? Still no?" "Still no." "You're consistent," he said. "I'm focused," she corrected. Hunter nodded slightly, like he respected that. "Fair." Zoe stood up before the moment stretched any further. "Enjoy your fries. See you around, chef," he called after her. She didn't turn back, but the nickname stuck in her mind longer than she wanted it to. By the time she reached the restaurant after school, that small, strange moment was gone. The place was already alive with energy orders being shouted, plates clattering, heat rising from the kitchen, so he tied her hair back quickly, stepping into a world that actually mattered. This wasn't high school. This was real life. Late, the voice stopped her cold. She turned slowly, and there he was again. Hunter, except now he wore a black apron, standing like he belonged there even more than she did. "You've got to be kidding me," she muttered. "What?" he said casually. "Didn't think I had a job." "I didn't know you worked here." "Now you do." He shoved a bucket of silverware into her hands. "Polish these, and mop." Zoe stared at him, disbelief written all over her face. "I was hired to cook." "And I was hired to make sure things don't fall apart," he replied. "Right now, you're helping by not slowing us down." Her grip tightened. "You're unbelievable, and you're still standing there." For a second, she thought about walking out. But then reality hit: tuition, bills, her dad's health. She couldn't afford pride. She grabbed the cloth. "Fine, but you're still the worst." "Noted," he said, already walking away. The dinner rush didn't build slowly, it hit all at once. Orders stacked up, voices overlapped, the kitchen turned into controlled chaos. Zoe worked fast, trying to keep up, but the pressure kept rising. "Zoe, move." Hunter called. "I am moving, not fast enough." The crash cut through everything. Plates shattered across the floor, the sound sharp and final. Zoe's heart dropped as she stared at the mess. "Oh my," Hunter started, but before he could finish, someone slipped. The head chef hit the ground hard, clutching his ankle in pain. And just like that, everything spiraled. Voices overlapped in panic. Orders were waiting. Customers were complaining. The kitchen was falling apart. Zoe froze for a split second, her mind racing. This was it, the moment everything collapsed. Hunter turned to her, and for the first time, he didn't look confident. "You said you can cook," he said. Zoe swallowed. "You told me not to." "I know," he said quickly. "I was wrong. Please, just help." There was something different in his voice. Noun. No sarcasm, no ego, just desperation. Zoe took a breath, then stepped forward. "Move." And just like that, everything changed. Her hands moved fast, her mind sharper than ever. She took control without thinking, organizing orders, adjusting dishes, turning chaos into rhythm. This was where she belonged. This was who she was. Plate after plate went out, and slowly, the panic faded into something manageable. By the time the last order was served, the kitchen fell into a stunned silence. Hunter stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "Kay," said slowly, "I was wrong." Zoe wiped her hands, trying to hide the small spark of pride inside her. "You don't say you're not just good," he added. "You're insane." She smirked slightly. "Took you long enough." Later that night, as Zoe stepped outside, the cool air hit her face, calming the heat still running through her veins. For a moment, everything felt steady. Then her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. We need to talk. Tomorrow? Don't make any mistakes." Zoe's chest tightened as she read the message again. The noise from the restaurant faded behind her, but something inside her shifted, because for the first time in a long time she had no idea what was coming next. The next morning didn't feel like a morning at all, it felt like a countdown. Zoe barely slept, the message replaying in her head over and over like a warning she couldn't ignore. "Don't make any mistakes." It wasn't just a threat, it was a reminder that she was already in too deep. She sat at the edge of her bed, staring at her phone, her stomach tight with anxiety. For once, she didn't have a plan. School felt different that day. The same hallways, the same noise, but everything sounded distant, like she was underwater. People talked, laughed, argued, but Zoe couldn't focus on any of it. Her mind kept jumping back to the restaurant, to the numbers she had seen, to the realization that her name was tied to something she didn't even understand fully. And worse, she hadn't told anyone, not even Hunter. That thought hit harder than she expected. She spotted him near the lockers, laughing with a couple of teammates, his usual relaxed energy back in place. For a second, she almost walked over, almost said something. But then she remembered the way she had pushed him away, the look on his face the last time they argued, and her feet stopped moving. She didn't deserve to just walk back into his life like nothing happened. So she turned and walked the other way. By lunchtime, the tension inside her had grown unbearable. She sat alone again, her food untouched this time, her phone in her hand as she debated texting him. A simple message. "Hey, can we talk?" Something, but every version felt wrong. Before she could decide, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. After school. Restaurant office. Don't be late. Zoe's grip tightened around her phone. There it was. No more avoiding it. The rest of the day blurred by. Classes ended, the final bell rang, and before she could overthink it, she found herself standing outside the restaurant, her heart pounding louder with each step she took inside. The usual noise of the place felt heavier now, like it was hiding something darker beneath it. Office. Now. Miss Gina's voice was but sharp. Zoe followed her, her pulse racing as the door shut behind them with a quiet click that felt way too final. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Miss Gina smiled. "You're a smart girl, Zoe," she said, walking slowly behind her desk. "Smarter than most." Zoe didn't respond. She just crossed her arms, trying to keep her voice steady. "Why is my name on those accounts?" The smile didn't fade, but it changed. "Because you signed the papers." "I didn't know what they were." "And whose fault is that?" Miss Gina tilted her head slightly. "Should always read before you sign." Zoe felt her chest tighten. "You used me." "I gave you an opportunity," she corrected. "Money, experience, a future." "This isn't a future," Zoe snapped. "This is fraud." Miss Gina's expression hardened just a little. "Careful, Zoe. Or what?" she shot back, even though her voice shook slightly. "Or everything you've worked for disappears," Miss Gina said quietly. "Your record, your school, your reputation. One report and it all points to you." The words hit like a punch. Zoe's mind raced. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," Miss Gina said, stepping closer, "you have a choice. You stay quiet, keep doing your job, and everything continues as it is. Or you try to be a hero and lose everything." Silence filled the room. Zoe's heart pounded so hard it felt like it might break through her chest. "I won't help you anymore," she said finally, her voice low but firm. Miss Gina studied her for a long moment, then smiled again, but this time it felt cold. "We'll see." That night, Zoe didn't go home right away. She walked aimlessly, her thoughts spiraling. Every option felt like a dead end. If she stayed silent, she was part of it. If she spoke up, she risked everything. Her future, her dad, Hunter. The thought of him made her stop. Before she could talk herself out of it, she pulled out her phone and typed, "Can we talk?" She stared at the message for a second, then hit send. The reply came faster than she expected. Now her chest tightened. "Yeah." They met at the empty football field, the lights casting long shadows across the grass. Hunter was already there, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. "You okay?" he asked, his voice softer than usual. Zoe swallowed. "Not really." There was a pause. "You've been avoiding me," he said, not accusing, just honest. "I know. Did I do something?" The question hit harder than it should have. "No," she said quickly. "This isn't about you." "Then tell me what it is about," he said, stepping closer. Zoe hesitated. Every instinct told her to stay quiet, to protect herself, but she was tired. Tired of lying. Tired of carrying everything alone, so she told him. Not everything, but enough. The accounts, the pressure, the threat. Hunter listened without interrupting, his expression slowly shifting from confusion to anger. "She set you up," he said finally. Zoe nodded. "Yeah, and you're just dealing with this alone. I didn't want you involved." He let out a frustrated breath. "Zoe, that's not how this works." "I know," she snapped, her emotions finally spilling over. "But I didn't have a choice." "You'd always have a choice," he said firmly. She shook her head. "Not this time." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Hunter stepped closer, his voice quieter now. "We go to the police." Zoe froze. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because if this goes wrong, I lose everything," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "My future, my dad's stability, everything I've been working for." Hunter looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression softened. "You don't have to do this alone," he said. That was the moment everything shifted. For the first time, Zoe felt like she wasn't completely trapped. The night of the big event came faster than she expected. The restaurant was packed important guests, expensive suits, laughter that felt fake if you listened closely enough. Zoe moved through the kitchen on autopilot, her mind racing with everything that could go wrong. Miss Gina watched her from across the room, a subtle warning in her eyes. Zoe's heart pounded. This was it. Halfway through the night, everything spiraled. A small mistake, just one, turned into something bigger. Flames rose from the stove, spreading faster than anyone expected. People shouted. The alarm blared. Panic filled the air. And in the middle of it all, Zoe stood still. She could walk away, stay silent, protect herself, or she could finally tell the truth. Her chest tightened as she made her choice. "I need to talk to the police," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. Everything that followed felt like a blur. Questions, explanations, truth finally spilling out after being held in for too long. It was terrifying, but it was also freeing. In the end, the truth held. The investigation uncovered everything. The accounts, the theft, the lies, and Zoe's name was cleared. Miss Gina was gone. And for the first time in weeks, Zoe could breathe again. A few days later, she found Hunter sitting on the bleachers after school. She walked up slowly, her heart pounding for a completely different reason now. "I'm sorry," she said. He looked up at her, quiet. "I should have trusted you," she added. There was a long pause. Then he nodded slightly. "Yeah, you should have." Zoe let out a small, nervous breath. "Can we start over?" Hunter studied her for a moment, then smiled just a little. "No more secrets? No more secrets?" "Okay," he said. "We can try." And just like that, things didn't magically fix themselves, but they felt possible again. As Zoe walked home that evening, the weight she'd been carrying felt lighter. Her future wasn't perfect. It wasn't guaranteed, but it was hers again. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough.